Okay, so let's begin our discussion on Chapter 4, Chemical Reactions. So our objectives here are the following, no? So for the first part of the discussion, we will see the different types of chemical reaction. Then on the next discussion, we will focus now on balancing redox reactions, no? So medyo mahaba kasi ito. So that will be continued next week, no? So dito muna tayo sa taas, no? So this is our focus, no? So anyway, so let's recall that our matter can undergo two changes, no? They could either go by physical changes, no, or and chemical changes, no. So what's the difference between the two? So when you say physical changes, we are actually pertaining to the change of the state of matter ng matter mo. So nagbabagong anyo lang siya. So it started from liquid, then magiging solid or magiging gas, no? So that's physical change, no. The chemical identity of your matter do not change, only its appearance, no. Nagbabagong anyo lang siya, pero siya pa rin 'yon, no. Pag yung tubig, pag yung yellow na tunaw, tubig siya, yung water doon is yung water molecules pa rin after, no. So ako lang 'to, parang gano'n lang yung sabi ni water. So same pa rin naman sila ng chemical identity. That means same sila ng chemical formula. So yun lang. So the physical states only changes when we have physical changes, no? Okay, but when we have chemical changes, your chemical identity changes. Nagbabagong anyo na yung matter natin. For example, itong candy ko na Max, no? Pag ito kinain ko, magiging energy to. So it started from a candy, tas naging energy ko siya, no? So another example would be itong bimpo, no? So if I burn this, what will happen is that magiging carbon to, magiging uling to, no? Okay. Magiging uling to, magiging carbon dioxide, magiging water vapor. So yun yung nangyayari. So when we have chemical changes, your substances are being converted from one form to another, no? So nagpapalit anyo sila because they change their partners, no? So nagpapalit-palit sila ng kasamang atom, no? So yun. So when we burn food, kunwari yung asukal, milk tea, or yung kanin, no? Mamaya kakain kayo. So pag kinain niyo yung kanin, the glucose molecules there will be broken down to form energy. So magkaibang bagay yung pagkain sa energy, no? So yun yung chemical changes, no? So you are altering the chemical identity of your substances, no? So whenever we alter the chemical identity, that means the chemical formula changes as well, no? Okay. So what are the general types of chemical reactions? So ito yung tinuturo sa inyo noong high school. So you should be all familiar with synthesis, decomposition, single displacement, and double displacement reactions. No? But later on, we will focus more on the in-depth discussions on this matter. No? So punta muna tayo sa high school. Let's recall now. So whenever we have synthesis reaction, what happens is that our reactants are just combining to form a single product na. So yung mga atoms mo, they all combine to form one big molecule na. So one example would be magnesium metal, no? So when you expose magnesium on air, pag na-expose yan sa hangin, it will be oxidized by the oxygen in the atmosphere, producing magnesium oxide, no? So kung hindi pa kayo nakakita ng magnesium ribbon, yung magnesium ribbon that is just a shiny metal, para siyang aluminum metal. But when you expose it in air, bigla-bigla siyang namumuti, no? So whenever that happens, meron tayong synthesis reaction. The oxygen in the air reacts with the surface of the metal, producing magnesium oxide, no? From shiny metal to white metal, no? So white powder. So yun yung nangyayari. So yan, by format lang yung ating types of reaction muna, no? So whenever we add these two, nagsasama sila to form one big molecule. So that's synthesis reaction, no? Okay. So another type is the decomposition reaction, wherein your reactants are decomposed to form multiple products, no? So yung isang molecule mo, they will be split into different atoms, no, or different molecules. No? For example, when you put water into electric circuits, no, kunwari, yung tubig, no, kuryentehin mo. So what happens is that the water molecules are being destroyed in a process called hydrolysis, no. So kapag yung water nilagyan mo ng tubig, they will bubble out. Yung bubbles na yon ay ang hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, no. So I don't advise you to do this, no. Pero this is the reason why our circuitry, yung mga mobile devices natin should not be placed in water. Yan, kasi they produce this gas, this explosive substances, no, hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, and at the same time, it will destroy your electronics, na. So yan. So what happens here is that you have your one molecule, and after doing chemical reaction, they will split into two, no. So that's one way for you to decompose your substance. You can apply electricity onto it. Another way is to heat it, no. So susunugin mo yung substance mo. So for example, we have potassium chlorate. You can also do this with your baking soda, no. So if you burn your baking soda or your potassium chlorate, no, so you are actually producing oxygen gas or carbon dioxide, no. So mapuputol yung mga oxygen molecules sa ating original molecules, no. So mapuputol dyan yung oxygens producing oxygen gas, no. Sa baking soda naman, ganun din, no. Yung carbon dioxide mawawala sila sa sodium bicarbonate, no. So ganun. So they will produce multiple products when you heat them or apply electricity into the reaction, no. So that's the decomposition reaction. So baliktad siya ng synthesis. Pag synthesis, pagsasamahin to form a single product. Dito naman, your single substance will produce multiple products, no. So kailan uli nangyayari yon? Either by applying heat or electricity. Okay? Okay, so another one would be single displacement. So when we have single displacement reactions, what happens here is that they just change partners now. Okay, so for example, we have silver nitrate and zinc metal. So if you place zinc metal into the silver nitrate solution, what happens is that yung silver, mamumuo siya, no? So actually, this is a redox reaction. I think i-discuss natin next meeting. Medyo malalim pa yan, no? So, okay. So, yan lang. So, kung mapapansin nyo, by just looking at the format ng equation natin, they just change the partners, no? For example, originally, nitrate's partner is silver. Ngayon, si zinc na ang kanyang partner, no? So, ganun din dito. When you place your magnesium metal with acid, such as hydrochloric acid, any metal naman would do. So, pag nilagyan mo yung metal mo sa acid, bubula yun, di ba? So, yung bubbles na yun, that's the hydrogen gas, no? So, you can actually contain all those hydrogen gas and burn it, no? And yun, masusunog yung hydrogen gas. Ganun ginawa namin last year sa mga senior high con. So, naglaro-laro kami. Kinolekta namin yung hydrogen and oxygen gases. Tapos nagliyab nga, no? So, wala lang. So, ibig sabihin, yung tinusuro ko, hindi siya joke time lang, no? Nag-exist talaga sila. Okay? So, yun lang yung format, no? For single displacement, there's a change in partner, no? May substitution lang. So, malalaman nyo rin in the future kung kailan natin masasabi na magpapalit sila ng partner or what, no? So, for now, yung format lang titignan natin, okay? So, yan yung format pag single displacement, no? Mag-change lang sila ng partners. For double displacement naman, or metathesis reactions, lahat sila nagpapalit ng partner, no? So, for example, you have this format AB plus CD. In the products, you will now have the partners AD and BC. Okay, so yan. For example, the two reactions here, no? Okay. So, bibigyan ko na kayo ng idea, no? So, the single displacement reactions are usually redox reactions, no? So, usually redox reactions sila. And then, itong double displacement, these are usually precipitation reactions, no? So this is redox, yung mga single displacement, and yung mga double displacement, precipitation reactions, yan na. So yun, no? So didiscuss naman natin yun in depth, no? So yan, so we're done with the general types of chemical reactions. So madali lang siya, no? Parang pang high school. Pero again, college tayo. So we will now focus on the specific types. Kasi tumatanda na tayo, kailangan level up na. Okay, so when we are pertaining to specific types of chemical reactions, dalawang part yan, no? So we have the first part, the combustion reaction. These are the reactions happening with air, no? So nangyayari yan kapag may hangin, no? Sa paligid, so combustion. So wala naman kasi masusunog kung walang hangin, di ba? So that's the first type of reaction, the combustion reaction. And the second type of reaction are the following, no? There are the reactions in aqueous solution. So ito nangyayari sa hangin, ito nangyayari sa liquid solutions, no? Or aqueous solutions. So tatlo yan. So we have precipitation, acid-base, and redox, no? Okay, so ngayon, I will just present you a video na nasa canvas. Punta lang kayo ng canvas ninyo. Tapos, ayan. Punta kayo sa course card natin. Punta kayo sa modules. Pagdating nyo sa modules, hanapin nyo yung laboratory. Sa lab ko nilagay yung video eh. So, click nyo tong reactions MT4. So, panoorin muna natin para may idea kayo. Okay? So, sana mapakinggan nyo yung video, no? So, good morning everyone. I'm Sir Jim and today... Naririnig niya ba yung video? Or hindi? Hindi ko alam kung sinare ko yung audio. Naririnig naman. Sige, panoorin nyo muna ito, no? Sige. Para may idea kayo sa reactions na i-discuss. So, good morning everyone. I'm Sir Jim and today we're going to talk about the types of chemical reactions. So, in your lecture, we discussed the combustion reaction, precipitation reaction, acid-base reactions, and oxidation reduction reactions. Okay. So, in the combustion reaction, we discussed that organic compounds such as hydrocarbons are being burned to decompose into simpler compounds such as carbon dioxide and water molecules. In the precipitation reactions, we react our ions to form insoluble products which can be predicted using the solubility rules. In acid-base reactions, we have hydronium ions from acids reacting with hydroxide ions from bases to form salt and water. That reaction is also called the neutralization reaction. And the last type of reaction is the oxidation reduction reaction, where there is a electron transfer from one reaction to another. So the first reaction here is the oxidation reaction, where your substance is losing electron, where that electron will be used up in the next reaction, which is the reduction reaction. So oxidation and reduction reaction happen in pairs. So today we're going to demonstrate the types of chemical reactions. So let's begin with combustion reactions. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate to you the combustion reaction. So we have here propanol, and we're going to burn this to form carbon dioxide and water molecules. The reaction will be shown in the video. Okay. However, I do not advise you to do this at home because of fire hazards, okay? Okay. So what happens here is that our propanol is reacting with oxygen in the air and they form carbon dioxide and water. However, if the reaction is incomplete, that means there is not enough oxygen molecules available, it can either form carbon monoxide or carbon in the form of soot. The soot can be found under your kitchenwares. However, if the reaction is proceeding completely, it will just form carbon dioxide and water molecules. So the next type of reaction is called the precipitation reaction. Today we're going to react zinc chloride with lead nitrate and we'll see if a precipitate will be formed. Okay. Based on the solubility rules, there should be a precipitate which is lead chloride. So let's see if that will happen. The white particles in this solution is the lead chloride precipitates. Okay. So we can actually separate that by allowing it to stand, or we can also use filter paper to separate the lead chloride in the solution. Okay. Natin, no? Ay, teka lang. Ayan, so notice nyo, so kanina, before adding the solutions, you have your clear solution, no? So pag pinag-add mo yung dalawang yan, lead nitrate, and we'll see if a precipitate will be formed. So clear yan, that's pag pinag-add. Based on the solubility rules, there should be a precipitate which is lead chloride. So let's see if that will happen. Ayan, so may namuong precipitate. The white particles in this solution so, ibig sabihin, lahat ng i-discuss natin precipitate, ganito yung may itsura. Iba-iba sila ng color, pero ganyan, no? They are cloudy in appearance, no? You can actually separate them using mechanical means such as filter paper and so on and so forth, no? Okay. So we can actually separate that by allowing it to stand, or we can also use filter paper to separate the lead chloride in the solution. Okay. For example, I have here a solution wherein the lead chloride already separated with the rest of the ions. Okay, so when you have precipitation reactions, what happens is that you are forming insoluble products, no? So, yun yung mga solid chunks na pwede mo makuha after the reaction, no? So, pwede mo yan i-filter paper, tas itabi yung powders, no? So, yun. Sayang, di natin magagawa yan dito. And hindi siya kaya gawin sa bahay because usually, the substances that does this ay mga heavy metals. So, I don't want you to be exposed to such substances kasi they can cause cancer, no? So, ako exposed ako dyan, no? So, alam nyo na, no? Cancer na this. Pero kayo, wag muna, no? Saka na. Okay? So, the next reaction is the acid-base reaction. So, our acid here is the nitric acid, and our base here is the sodium hydroxide. So when we combine this, we should be able to form salt, which is sodium nitrate, and water molecules. However, we will have no visual cues here, unlike in the precipitation reaction where you can see the cloud of precipitate forming, and in the combustion reaction where you can see the flames coming out. So to help us visualize this reaction, we're going to add chemical indicators such as phenolphthalein. At basic solutions, phenolphthalein gives violet color to the mixture. Okay, so I'm going to add phenolphthalein in the sodium hydroxide solution. Okay, so in acid-base reactions kasi, usually we do not have any visual cues, no? So, hindi natin makita kung ano itsura ng reaction. Pag combustion, may apoy. If precipitation, usually may makikita kang colored cloud, no? Such as yung kanina, yung white cloud, no? So, yun, may visual cue ka. However, for acid-base reactions, we are not seeing much of the reaction happening, no? Kasi clear solutions yan. So, to enable us to visualize it, we use chemical indicators such as the phenolphthalein indicator, no? So, that's one. No? Keep in mind yun na. Phenolphthalein indicator, ayan yung spelling. Phenolphthalein, no? So, maraming H, no? Tawag nila doon PHPH or PHP para mabilis, no? Okay. So, yan. So, phenolphthalein indicators are used to visualize the acid-base reaction. Para makita mo yung colors. Violet yan if that is in the basic medium. No? Pero when you add acid, what will happen? Magre-react yung acids and bases producing neutral substances. No? And whenever the reaction is neutral, mag-fade yung violet color. No? So,
sodium hydroxide solution turned into violet. Okay. When we add acids in our solutions with base, the phenolphthalein color fades away as the solution becomes acidic. So let's try that.
So yan, so
So we
violet
should
yan.
expect the intensity of the pink color will fade.
Violet yan. Tignan
Okay.
nyo, mawawala yung violet. No? Ayan.
Okay. So the pink color dissipated, and however, in the process there is some side reaction that happened.
Paano ko nasabi may side reaction? Kasi ideally, kailangan clear pa rin yan, no? Kasi nagtaka ako niyan, bakit may puti pa rin, no? So, ibig sabihin nun, hindi malinis yung aking reagents, no? So, ideally kasi, mawawala lang yung purple, then clear pa rin yan, no? Pero I don't know ba't nagkulay puti yan, no? Siguro marumi yung tubig.
You add phenolphthalein in your basic solution, it will give you purple color, and um, when you add acids onto it, the pink color fades away. Okay. This type of reaction will be discussed in depth in your analytical chemistry. So we're going to demonstrate another acid-base reaction. This time we're going to expect bubbles forming. Okay. So neutralization reactions that involves formation of gases usually happens when your solution contains carbonates, sulfides, and sulfide ions. Okay. So today we're going to react nitric acid again with our sodium bicarbonate, and we'll expect bubbles forming in the form of carbon dioxide. Okay. Okay.
Nakita nyo yan.
So
There is another type of acid-base reaction which produces carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, or hydrosulfuric acid or H2S, no? So, yung gases na yon, they exist because basahin nyo na lang, no? Because carbonates, sulfides, and sulfates are unstable in acidic medium, no? So, yan. So, baka may makita kayong question. What are the unstable ions in our acidic medium? So, the reason why they are unstable is yun nga, yung acids, they really don't want to exist in acid medium, no? So what will happen is that instead of existing as complete ions, instead na carbonate ion yan in acidic medium, instead ng sulfide yan in acidic medium, sulfite yan in acidic medium, what happens is that they become liberated to produce gases, no? Yung carbonates that will produce carbon dioxide in acidic medium, sulfides will produce hydrogen sulfide gas, and sulfites will produce sulfur dioxide gas, no? So one example would be your soft drinks, no? So tingin kayo sa soft drinks. Soft drinks are usually acidic, no? So carbonated yung soft drinks kasi may carbonates doon. So, 'di ba sabi natin in acidic medium, your carbonates are unstable producing carbon dioxide. Kaya makikita nyo yung soft drinks nyo, may bubbles, no? May carbon dioxide bubbles. Because in acidic medium, the carbonated drink, no, the carbonated water is unstable. Kaya bumubula-bula yung soft drinks natin, no? So yan. So may pang-explain na kayo pag may nagtanong sa inyo bakit bumubula yung soft drinks, no? So, yung carbonates are unstable in acidic medium producing carbon dioxide, blah blah blah. May pang-explain na kayo pag may nagtanong sa inyo, ha? So ganun.
So today we're going to react nitric acid again with our sodium bicarbonate, and we'll expect bubbles forming in the form of carbon dioxide.
Bubula yan.
Okay.
So yan.
Okay, oops. So that bubble is the carbon dioxide evolving from the solution. Carbonates are usually unstable when reacted with acids, hence the formation of carbon dioxides.
Next one.
Yeah. Okay. So the next demonstration is about redox reactions. Okay, so for the first video, we have potassium permanganate reacting with hydrogen peroxide or agua oxinada. Okay. So when we mix these two substances, there will be some sort of redox reactions. The reaction will be shown on the video. Okay.
So, originally violet yung KMNO4. Tapos pag nilagyan mo yung agwaxanat,
Oops. Okay.
nagkaroon ng bubbles and naging kulay brown.
So as you can see,
So, yung bubbles na yun.
the bubbles formed are from the oxygen gas that is being produced when the hydrogen peroxide is being oxidized. Also, the purple color of manganese ion disappeared, and that confirms that redox reaction actually took place. Okay.
So, at least alam nyo, hindi joke time yung tuturo ko sa future, no? So, yung bubbles na yun, that is actually the oxygen gas. You can actually collect it and combust it, no? So, ganun ginagawa ko sa lab, pag bored ako. So, nangongolekta ako ng oxygen gas, hydrogen gas, sa sinusunog ko, no? Okay, so originally the MnO4 minus ion, the permanganate ion, violet yan in color. However, after doing redox reaction, magbabago yung color niya from violet to brown. No? That's why the changing of colors are usually attributed to chemical reactions, not physical reaction. No? Okay, so yan lang. And last one.
In our last demonstration, we're going to see the reaction between zinc metal and hydrochloric acid. So, in this reaction, zinc will be oxidized to form zinc 2 plus, and hydrogen from hydrochloric acid will form H2, which is a gas.
So,
Okay.
dito may
So we're
makita
going
tayo
to do
uling
that, and
bubbles.
as I drop the zinc metal, we should observe bubbles forming.
That may insert ako ilalagay.
Okay, so as you can see, some bubbles are forming. That bubble is actually the hydrogen gas.
So, may nabula dito. If you want to watch it on mas malinaw, go to Canvas lang, no. Punta lang kayo ng Canvas, modules, then hanapin niyo yung laboratory. Sa laboratory, andun yung video Ayan. So, andun yung chemical reactions, no. So, ayun lang, no. So, those are the specific types of chemical reactions. So, combustion reaction, precipitation, acid-base, redox reaction. So, apat lang sila. Apat na specific reactions now. So, let's go with combustion reactions first. No? So, when we say combustion reactions, what's happening here is that your matter, such as organic matter, they are usually burned in air, producing water vapor and carbon dioxide. No? So, ano yung mga organic matter natin, or organic compounds? Those are molecules that usually contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They are combusted with the presence of air, no? So, ito yung air. Pag sinabi nating oxygen, O2 yun parate, ha? Hindi siya O atom lang, O2 parate. So, organic compounds are combusted with air, producing carbon dioxide and water, no? So, again, ito yung format niya, CHO, O, CO2, H2O. Hindi naman necessary na may oxygen parate itong organic matter natin, no? So, hindi siya necessary may oxygen parate, such as this one. This is propane, no? So, propane is one component of LPG, no? Propane, butane, no? So, ganito nangyayari sa ating LPG tank, no? Or sa lighter, no? May mga ganyan-ganyan na nangyayari, no? Okay, so again, when the reaction goes into completion, meaning complete yung reaction, complete combustion, what we are forming are the carbon dioxide and water vapor na. So kapag complete, ano ba yan? Kapag complete yung combustion, ano yung product? Carbon dioxide and water. Paano kapag incomplete? Ito yung question. Bakit ba nagiging incomplete, no? So, the reason why the reaction is incomplete is because of the lack of oxygen gas in the atmosphere. Pag kinulang ng hangin sa reaction. So, whenever kinulang ng hangin yung reaction nyo, you can see the soot or carbon, no, forming. One example would be your kitchenware. No? So, mga gamit nyo sa kusina, nangingitim yan sa ilalim because of the incomplete combustion. Bakit nagiging incomplete? Kasi 'di ba imagine yung nasusunog yung 'di ba nagliliyab yung gasoline yun, no? So nagbe-burn yung gas, no? So kapag tinakpan mo kasi yun ng let's say takore ah, or saucepan, pag tinakpan mo yun, nababawasan yung oxygen na pwede pumasok doon sa flame. So instead na pwede siya pumasok sa taas, yung oxygen pwede pumasok sa taas ng flame, limited na lang yung ano, pwede niya pasukan, yung nasa gilid na lang, no? Yung nasa gilid ng kalan, no? So, since onti lang yung oxygen na meron tayo doon, so the reaction will be incomplete, meaning kulang yung oxygen, no? So, whenever the combustion reaction is incomplete, we are forming soot and carbon monoxide, no? Or just one of them, no? So, instead of CO2, ang nabubuo natin ay carbon soot or carbon monoxide, no? So itong carbon soot, yun nga yung nangingitim sa kusina niyo, no? So ganun. So may pang-explain na kayo bakit nangingitim yung inyong mga gamit sa kusina, no? So pag tinanong kayo ng magulang nyo, kung may natutunan kayo sa online class, sabihin nyo, ay ma, alam mo ba bakit nangingitim yan? Dahil yan sa incomplete combustion, no? Malay mo bigyan kayo ng baon, 'di ba? So yun lang. So that's the product of incomplete combustion. So instead of carbon dioxide, you are producing you are producing carbon monoxide or carbon soot, no? Yung kulay itim na film, no? Okay, so again, ano yung difference? Ay, lobat. Okay, so again, ano yung difference? Pag complete combustion, CO2 ang napoproduce. Pag incomplete combustion, soot or carbon monoxide ang nabubuo. Pwede rin naman lahat nabubuo, no? Pwede rin may carbon dioxide, may soot, may CO, may carbon monoxide. Pwede yan, no? So, depende sa trip ng reaction. So, pwede sila mag-exist all at once. Pwede rin naman isa-isa lang sa kanila, na. So, ayan. Kaya pag nagluluto kayo, ang advice ko ay yung pili kayo ng stove, no? Kunwari, nag-adulting na kayo, no? Gusto niyo na bumili ng mga appliances sa bahay. Pili kayo ng lutuan na medyo mataas yung gap, no? Mataas yung gap ng flame and yung papatungan ng kitchenware nyo para maraming oxygen na pumasok, no? So, hindi mangingitim yung inyong kitchenware. Or just buy, non-stick frying pan. Yung ilalim niya, hindi rin namumuo doon yung mga soot, eh. Pag bumili kayo ng non-stick frying pan, no? So, yan lang. Tip ko lang, no? Mga tito advice. So, yan. Okay, so that's combustion reaction. So, tapos na tayo with combustion. The next one is okay, so ano ulit ito? Pag complete, pag complete, CO2 ang napoproduce. If that is incomplete, ano yung nabubuo? Carbon monoxide or carbon soot, na. So, nangingitim yan, na. So, that's combustion reaction. And just, be familiar with the format, no? So, ayan. So, CHO, O2, CO2, H2O. Okay? So, ganun din naman dito. CHO, O2, CO, H2O, or carbon and H2O lang. Okay? So, ganun lang. Be familiar with the format, no? The next one would be the last three reactions, no? So, the reactions in aqueous solutions, no? So, what happens in aqueous solutions ba? Ano ba yung difference ng aqueous sa liquid, no? Kasi when we say liquid, we are pertaining to the medium, yung hahaluan. When we say aqueous, we are saying na yung substance ay nasa medium. Yung substance ay nasa tubig, no? So for example, we have salt, no? We have sodium chloride. 'Di ba? Makikita niyo yung sodium chloride, that's crystals, 'di ba? Square 'yan. When you place that in water, you are actually creating aqueous solutions, no? Meaning nun, you are dissolving your ion, you are dissolving your salt into the water. So, ito yung phenomena nun, no? So, you have your salt crystal here. Pag yan nalagyan ng tubig, what will happen is that the ions will separate, no? Kaya wala kayong napapansin na buo pa rin siya after. Nagdi-disappear siya, 'di ba? So pag nag-disappear siya, that means all the ions are being surrounded now by water molecules now. So yeah. So when this process happens, no, we have aqueous solution, no. Aqueous, aqueous, no, both pronunciations are accepted naman in the scientific community, no. So yan. So again, when you dissolve ionic substances, what happens is that they become aqueous solutions na. So nahalo sila sa water molecules. No? So they become mixed with water. No? Pinapalibutan ng water molecules yung sodium, pinapalibutan nila yung chloride. No? So we can actually express that phenomena with the ionization equation or the dissociation process or ionization process. So what happens here is that, for example, you have NaCl, this is your salt. Pag nilagay mo yan sa water, it will dissociate or ionize into cation and an ion. So maghihiwalay yung cation and an ion nyo. Di ba last time pinagsasama natin sila? Ngayon, paghihiwalayin uli natin sila. Okay? So, ganun lang. So, they will separate as cation and an ion. So, for example, HCl. So, the cation here is H plus, the anion is Cl minus. So, they will separate in aqueous solutions. No? So, yan. So, keep in mind na ito yung first step parate when we are doing aqueous solutions. No? Or when we are doing reactions in aqueous solution. First step, you ionize your substances. Okay? So, when you ionize your substances, reactions may or may not take place. Pwedeng magkaroon ng reaction, pwede ring hindi. One example is yung suka and yung toyo. Pag pinagmix mo yon, wala namang nangyayari. 'Di ba? So, walang chemical reaction. Pero yung mga pinakita kong video kanina, may reaction. Ang question doon, kailan mo malalaman na magkakaroon ng reaction? No? So, yun yung big question kasi, no? Na, ba't sir, yung suka, yung toyo, pinaghalo ko, wala namang sumabog, no? Kasi walang reaction doon. Yung mga hinalo ko kanina sa video, yun yung may mga reaction. This is the question. How can you know or how can you tell when will a reaction will take place? No? Kailan kaya magkaka-reaction? So we have 3 criteria to follow para malaman natin kung may reaction. Kasi sometimes meron, sometimes wala. No? So these are the 3 guide para malaman natin na magkakaroon ng reaction. Letter A, that there are ions that can combine to form insoluble substances. When that happens, you have precipitation reaction. When you have ions that can neutralize each other, forming neutral substances, when we have those ions, we call that the acid-base reaction. And when you have chemical species that can transfer electrons, then you have redox reaction. So, tatlo yung options nila. When you mix those substances, pag pwede gumawa ng insoluble substance, mga precipitate, then the reaction will be precipitation reaction. Pag pinagsama mo yung mga ions na pwede mag-neutralize, meaning na neutralize, may acid and base ka, no? So may H plus and OH ka. So when you mix them, you will have acid-base reactions. Pwede naman may mag-transfer ng electron. So that happens when you have redox reactions na. Okay. So sir, paano kung wala niyan? Wala ni isa diyan, no? So kapag wala, edi no reaction, walang mangyayari, no? So for example ngayon, toyo and yung suka, no? So wala naman nangyayari doon. Kasi wala naman precipitates na bububuo. Wala ring acid-base na reaction. Wala rin naman magta-transfer ng electron. Ito yung question, sir, paano namin malalaman kung masusunod yan? So yun yung pupuntahan natin today. Okay, so let's go to the specifics, no? So sana masundan yan, no? So okay. So first specific reaction, precipitation reaction. So visually nakita natin siya when we mix clear solutions, no? Pag binagalo natin sila, may nabubuong cloud, no? So that cloud is the insoluble compound formed from the ions, no? So nagagawa sila from the ions you have in your solution. Okay? So whenever we are able to form insoluble compounds, we call them precipitates, no? They can be solid or colloidal in form, no? So pwede silang solid, yung nagse-separate as a whole. Just like yung previous example ko, nakita niyo yung video, 'di ba? Nasa baba yung kulay puti, nasa taas yung clear. So yung kulay puti na nasa baba, that's the precipitate, no? Yung clear, edi yung liquid na lang 'yan, no? So one example would be this one. So I have two beakers here of magnesium sulfate and sodium hydroxide, no? Then after reacting them, yung clear naging cloudy, no? Itong cloudy na yan, that is the magnesium hydroxide precipitate, no? So you can actually separate those cloud layers, no? Pwede mo yung makuha as powders, no? Ito yung question. So, paano ko, paano ko sir mape-predict yung reaction na yan, no? Okay. So in predicting those reactions, no, we can use the solubility rules, no. So ito yung solubility rules, kailangan nyo to isabuhay, no. Kailangan ba kabisaduhin? Not necessarily naman na kailangan kabisado. Kailangan na isabuhay, no. So these solubility rules will tell us about whether can we create precipitates or not, no. Okay. So, dito natin malalaman kung may precipitate or wala, no? So, bigyan ko lang kayo ng copy sa Teams natin, no? Para may masave kayo. So, wait lang. Hahalongkatin ko pa yung picture, baka kung ano makita nyo, no? So, ayan. So, hanapin ko lang yung picture, ha? Puro selfie na sa iPad, eh. Teka lang. Eto. Okay, so ayan. So, yan yung solubility rules. Paki-save na lang sa inyong devices na. Okay, so anyway, so let's proceed. No? Okay, so you have your solubility rules. We will use that table to predict whether can we create precipitates or not. If we are able to create precipitates, then the reaction will take place. Pero kapag wala tayong magawang precipitate, we can say na there is no reaction. No? Walang reaction na mangyayari. Okay, so that's yan yung first deciding factor. No? Okay. Okay, so paano gagawin yan? No? Paano natin gagamitin yung lamesa na yan, no? Yung table na yan? So how did we know that this precipitate will be formed? No? So the first step always is for you to dissociate your substances. Di ba kanina we have magnesium sulfate and sodium hydroxide, no? So the first thing you should do is to make ions out of this formula. So kunin mo yung mga ions na kaya mo gawin dito. MgSO4, ano yung charge ng magnesium? 2+. Mg2+, ang cation. Ano yung charge ng SO4? -2. So you have your sulfate ion. Sodium hydroxide, ano yung ions na pwede magawa mo dyan? Sodium ion and hydroxide ions. No? So that's the first step. You have to split your ionic substances into ions. First step yan. So you will have this, no? So itong mga ionic substances natin, naging ions na sila, no? Then pag naging ions yan, you have to check whether can you combine some of them to produce precipitates, no? Pwede ba natin sila pagsamahin para may mabuong precipitate, no? So paano yan, no? So titingin tayo sa solubility rules. Anong ions meron ulit tayo? We have Mg2+, you have SO4 -2, Na+, OH -2. So these are our ions, no? So pwede natin sila ipag-match, no? So paano sir gagamitin yung solubility rules? Ito yung technique. Focus on your anions. Tignan nyo yung mga anions, no? Then, alamin mo kung sino yung possible partners nila. So, sulfate can form partners with Na and Mg. So, pwede sila mag-partner ng Mg at ng Na. Si OH, pwede siya makipag-partner with Na and Mg. So, yun. Yung anions, magpe-partner siya with cations. No? So, bakit ko binox yung anions? Kasi yun yung titignan natin sa solubility rules. No? So, let's check the solubility rules if nakalagay yung mga batas para kay sulfate and kay OH. No? So, let's read sulfate. No? Basahin natin ang sulfate. Ito, sulfate. Ito nakalagay dito. Highlight natin. Sulfates. So, you have your sulfates. Ano sabi dito? Sulfates, most sulfates are stable. Stable. Soluble. Okay, so they are soluble at most, no? Except when paired with calcium, strontium, barium, and lead, no? So, ibig sabihin nun, sulfate will not form precipitate unless it is paired with calcium ion, strontium ion, barium ion, and lead ion. So, tignan natin yung pwedeng maging partners ni sulfate. So, will sulfate form precipitate with sodium? Hindi. Bakit hindi? Kasi hindi naman siya calcium, hindi siya strontium, hindi siya barium, hindi rin siya lead. So that means our sulfate here is soluble pag Na yung partner niya. Okay? Tignan natin kapag ka-partner niya si magnesium, is it soluble or not? No? So basahin uli natin. Sulfates are soluble except when paired with calcium, strontium, barium, and lead. Oh, will it form precipitate? Hindi rin. Bakit hindi? Kasi magnesium is not calcium, it is not strontium, hindi rin siya barium, hindi rin siya lead. So that means it will fall under the soluble criteria. No? So soluble siya. So ibig sabihin, SO4 will not form precipitate. No? So AX na natin yan. Wala tayong mabubuong precipitate dyan. No? So, after checking sulfate, tingin tayo sa next anion, hydroxide. Kasi binilugan ko, no? So, tingin tayo sa table. So, hydroxides. Ito yung nakalagay kay hydroxides. Ano siya? Usually insoluble. Basahin natin yung nakasaad dito. All hydroxides are insoluble except those of ammonium and group 1 cations. Blah, blah, blah are slightly insoluble. Okay, so ano sabi natin? So, hydroxides are insoluble. Ibig sabihin nun, magiging precipitate siya. Unless when paired with ammonium and group 1 cations. No? So, again, yung hydroxides, siya ay usually precipitate. Kailan siya hindi nagiging precipitate? When they are paired, when it is paired with ammonium ion and group 1 metal. Okay. So tingin tayo dito. Si hydroxide, it could either pair with sodium or magnesium. Okay? So when hydroxide pairs with sodium, precipitate siya or not? Ang sagot ay hindi siya precipitate. Bakit? Hindi siya precipitate kasi sabi dito, ano yung exemption para maging soluble siya? Insoluble except when paired with ammonium and group 1 metal. 'Di ba sodium is a group 1 metal? So that means hydroxide will be soluble when paired with sodium. So hindi siya mamumuo, no? Hindi siya gagawa ng precipitate with sodium. Tingin tayo sa next cation, we have Mg, magnesium. So, will magnesium form precipitate with hydroxides? Basahin uli natin. All hydroxides are insoluble except those of ammonium and group 1. Wow. Is magnesium ammonium ion? Hindi. Magkaiba yan. Is magnesium group 1 metal? Hindi rin. Ano ba si magnesium? Group 2 metal. So, does that mean it will form precipitate? Yes na yes. No? So yan, pwede yan makagawa ng precipitate. No? Precipitate can form, no? Yeast na yeast yan. No? We can form precipitate out of magnesium and hydroxide. No? So, ganun yung checking, ha? So, you check your anions, tingnan mo sa table, tapos hanapin mo kung sino yung pwedeng partners. Pwede silang maka-form ng partners, basahin nyo lang itong mga nakalagay sa gilid. No? So, we have more examples to practice with naman mamaya. No? Okay? So, we know that this and this, when they are paired, precipitate can form. So, ngayon, alam na natin na may precipitate tayo mabubuo. The next question is, what is the formula of that precipitate? So, for you to get the formula of the precipitate, you do the crisscross. So, you have your magnesium, 2 plus, you have your hydroxide, negative 1. So, i-crisscross mo yung charges. This is the formula of your precipitate. No? So, ano uli ginawa natin? Yung ating, yung ating reactants, ginawa nating ions. After gawing ions, hinanap natin kung sino yung pwede makagawa ng precipitate using the solubility rules. So after that, nalaman natin, this can form precipitate with this one. Ano yung sumunod na ginawa natin? We checked the formula. Ano kaya formula nila? So we did that by doing the crisscross. So we are able to get MgOH2 as the formula for the precipitate. Okay, so anong meaning niyan? Mg and OH can form precipitate, the precipitate magnesium hydroxide, no? MgOH2. Then, ano mapapansin natin? Yung sodium and sulfate, sila ay walang ginawa, no? So, they will not form precipitate, di ba? So, whenever we have ions that do not form precipitates, we call them spectator ions. Spectator literally meaning nakikiusyoso. Sila yung mga chismosong ions. No? So, nakatingin lang sila. No? So, parang ito nagugunaw na sila, tapos ito nakatingin lang. No? So, ganun yung nangyayari. No? Okay, so ganun lang. Whenever we have ions that do not participate in precipitation reaction, meaning walang precipitate na namumuo, we call them spectator ions. Literally meaning na nakatingin lang. No? Wala silang ginagawa. Chismosa lang yung mga ions na yan. Okay? So, ganun lang. So, when we combine our spectator ion, we can form Na2SO4. No? So, pwede mo rin sila i-combine. No? So, pwede mo sila ipag-combine. So, paano kino-combine yan? Criss-cross lang din. No? So, paano yon? We have Na plus, SO4 negative 2. Lagyan ng parenthesis yung polyatomics. Yung 2 ilalagay kay sodium. Yung 1 ilalagay kay sulfate. So, you have Na2SO4 formula. Okay? So, ganun yung ginagawa, ha? You identify the precipitates, then you create the formula out of the precipitate, no? MgOH2. Yung natira, you call them spectator ions. And again, spectator ions do not really participate in the reaction. No? So, hindi sila nakikisama sa reaction. So, you can also create formula from them. No? So, gumawa ka ng chemical formula out of this ion. So, crisscross mo lang. So, you will have this reaction. MgSO4, NaOH, yielding magnesium hydroxide and sodium sulfate. Then, the rest is for you to balance. No? Ibabalance mo na lang sila. Ganun lang. Ayan, no? So, yan lang naman yung ganap dyan. So, after identifying kung sino yung pwede mag-pair, ito yung precipitate, ito yung spectator. Okay? So, dalawa yung ating uri ng bagay. Ito yung impostor. Ay, hindi. Ito yung crewmate. Ito yung impostor. No? Ito yung fake lang. Nag-exist siya pero fake lang yung kanyang existence. No? So, yan. And then again, whenever you are given a chemical formula, it is your responsibility to balance it. No? Why do we have to balance equations? Because yun ang law of nature. No? So we have to balance our equations to follow the conservation of mass. No? So ganun talaga. No choice. No? Okay? So in precipitation, we can express them with three different equations. The molecular equation, we can see here all the species represented as molecules, no? So pinagsasama-sama yung ions dito. Pag ionic equation naman, ito yung ionic equation. So ano ginagawa dyan? From our molecular equation, we will separate everything into ions except the precipitate, no? So that means, pag gusto mo kunin yung ionic equation, ano gagawin mo? You will express magnesium sulfate as Mg2 plus and SO4 ions. You will express 2 sodium hydroxide ion as 2Na plus and 2OH minus, no? So yung coefficient, i-distribute mo sila kada ion. So this is 2, this is 2. Okay? Yung sodium sulfate, gagawin mo yung ions. 2Na plus and SO. Ba't hindi yan 2? 1 lang yan. So Na2 plus and SO4 minus, no? Then lastly, again, yung precipitate, hindi sinasama, no, sa paggawa ng ions. Kasi solid sila, no? Hindi sila ginagawang ions. Okay, so MgOH2, copy mo lang. Okay, so again, we have the first two representation. Molecular equation, we express them as a whole, as a molecule. Ionic equation, we express them as ions except the precipitate, no? So ions sila lahat maliban sa precipitate, no? Kasi solid daw 'yan. So hindi natin siya gagawing ions. Then lastly, we have the net ionic equation. So ano meron sa net ionic equation? 'Di ba you have your ionic equation? You can cancel similar terms, no? So parang math lang pala to, no? What exists on the left side should be cancelled with the existing ions on the right side, no? So para lang math, no? Okay. Anyway, so may tingnan na ako notif. So, pwede natin i-cancel yung existing ions on the left side and the right side, no? Yung similar. For example, we have sodium here. We have 2 sodium here. We can cancel them. We have SO4 here, another SO4 there, and we can cancel. Yung Mg ion, wala naman sa kabila. Ang meron lang MgOH2. So, hindi natin pwede cancel yon. Magkaiba yan eh. Ion ito, solid. So, hindi sila pwede i-cancel. So Mg2 plus and OH2 will be left now. Okay, so that's your net ionic equation. And ano mapapansin nyo, your spectator ions are not included in the net ionic equation kasi kinancel out natin sila na. So canceled ang mga spectator. Okay, so again, we have the three formulas representing precipitation reaction. We have molecular equation as a whole. Yung precipitate, naka-isang buo. Yung spectator, isang buong formula din. You have your net ionic equation where everything is represented as ions except the precipitate. No? So lahat yan gagawin mong ions maliban sa precipitate. Then if you cancel similar terms, no, yung sodium and sulfates, you will have the net ionic equation. So yan. Okay, so walang spectator ions dito. So let's practice. So I will answer just 3 items here or 2 or 3. Ano na lang? Ilang kaya? Siguro, sige, magsasagot na lang muna ako. Pag tinamad na ako, kayo nasa natira. Magbibigay din ako sa inyo for practice. Eh. Okay, so sagutan ko muna yung 1. Na2, SO4, sodium sulfate, and barium chloride. Ano kaya yung products natin? So, yun yung question. What are the products? Then express the molecular equation and the net ionic equation. So, yun yung sabi dito eh. So, express the product. Predict if the precipitate will be formed upon mixing the following substances and write the molecular equation and the net ionic equation. So, sagutan ko to. Na2SO4 BaCl2. So, di ko alam yung products. Question mark. So, what would be my first step? My first step is to ionize them, no? Ionize mo muna sila. So, for sodium sulfate, ano yung ions na pwede ko gawin? I can create Na plus and SO4. minus 2 ions. For barium chloride, ang pwede ko gawin ay barium 2 plus and Cl minus. Again, wag nyo muna pansinin yung stoichiometry nila, no? So, wag mo muna ilagay yung 2Na, 2Cl, no? So, ganyan muna, no? Kunin mo lang yung ions. So, these are my ions, no? And they can either make precipitate or not. I don't know, no? So, gagawin ko to check if they can form precipitates is pupunta ako sa table. Hanapin ko yung table. Ito. Zoom in ko lang na. Ano yung ions ko? Na plus, SO4 minus 2, barium 2 plus, and chloride ions. Ay, ko lang. Yan. Zoom in ko ulit. Okay, so ito yung ions ko. And again, I will focus on my anions. No? SO4, Cl. Basa. Hanapin natin. SO4, ano yung mga batas sa kanya? Ito, usually soluble. Sulfates. Ayan, sulfates muna tayo. Okay, sulfates. Most sulfates are soluble except calcium, strontium, barium, lead. Oh, balikan uli natin. Uy, may barium. So, ibig sabihin yan, if sulfate will pair with barium, precipitate yan. So, easy lang, no? So, nakita natin, uy, pwede siya mag-form ng precipitate, no? So, this and this can form precipitates, no? Okay? So, yan. Ganun lang, ha? So, hanapin nyo lang kung asa kaya siya pwede mag-form ng precipitate, no? So, ganun lang. Most sulfates are soluble except chloride naman tayo. Okay na tayo kay sulfate, eh. Chloride. Ano? Chloride, bromide, iodides. All chlorides, bromides, iodides are soluble except silver, mercury, lead. Silver, mercury, lead. Silver, mercury, lead na. Okay, so wala naman tayong silver, wala naman tayong mercury, wala rin tayong lead. So that means yung chloride natin, they are soluble with sodium and barium. No? So wala tayong precipitate na mabubuo dito. No precipitate with Cl. Ba't ba gumaganyan yung L ko? Okay, so Cl, wala tayong precipitate na mabubuo kay chloride kasi wala tayong silver, wala tayong mercury, wala tayong lead na. Meron lang tayo kasi ay sodium and barium. Sulfate, we can make precipitates here, no? Kasi sa nakalagay na dito, no? Ayun, no? So, soluble siya except barium sulfate. So, insoluble yung barium sulfate. Okay, so balikan natin yung eto. So, we just realized that sodium and barium, sulfate and barium, they can form precipitates, no? So, ano yung formula ng precipitate, no? By the way, pag may nakita kayong PPT, precipitate yon sa chemistry, no? So, hindi siya PowerPoint, no? So, ano yung precipitate na pwede natin magawa? Pwede mag-join si barium and si sulfate to form a precipitate, no? So, to obtain its formula, criss-cross. So, 2 yan, ito 2. Then, since parehas yung ating subscripts, we can cancel them na lang, no? So, the final formula of the precipitate would be basophore. Okay, so yan. So, yan yung ating precipitate. Ano yung spectator natin? Spectator. Yung osyoso lang. Ang spectator ay Na plus and Cl minus. So, to get its formula, criss-cross lang. Yung 1 mapupunta doon, yung 1 mapupunta doon. So, same lang. NaCl. Okay, so alam na natin yung products, no? So we can form barium sulfate precipitate and our spectator ion is sodium chloride. So what's left is for us to create the molecular equation. So kopyahin ko muna. Okay, so again, Pag precipitate, ilagay mo na solid siya, no? Indicate mo na solid yan, no? So, that means mumuo yan, no? So, kulay white din yan, no? Although not all precipitates ay white, no? May yellow, may orange, may red, no? Basta mga cute yung color. Cute but toxic, no? So, yan. So, this is our molecular equation. Na2SO4 BaCl2 producing barium sulfate solid. Ito yung precipitate. NaCl as our spectator. Then, ano yung responsibility natin? As again, i-balance mo sila, no? So, always, no, check kung balance sila. So, we have one barium here, one barium here, one sulfate here, one sulfate here. So, balance na yung barium sulfate. We have 2 Na here, dalawang Cl here. Dito, tig-isa sila. So, what's left is lagyan lang natin ng coefficient na 2, yung NaCl. So, balance na iyan, no? Okay. So, as you can see, this is all, ito nga yung sinabi ko, this is double displacement, no? So, yung Na naging partner niya si Cl, yung barium naging partner niya si sulfate. Diba? Double displacement. No? Okay. So, yun yung ating molecular equation. Ngayon, net ionic na tayo. Buti may space pa sa baba. Net ionic. So, anong ginagawa sa net ionic? Gagawin natin tong ions. No? And this time, we will care about the stoichiometry. No? So, we have 2 sodium ions here, 1 sulfate ion. So, 2 Na plus, 1 SO4 negative 2, barium 2 plus, dalawang Cl minus, because the subscript tells us na dalawa yung chloride natin, so 2Cl minus. The subscript tells us na dalawa yung sodium natin na. So ito isang sulfate, isang barium. Products. Again, yung precipitate, hindi siya gagawing ions na. So kopyahin mo lang yan. And then yung natira, NaCl, spectator yan. So gawin mo yung ions na. And then, lastly, cancel the similar terms. Ano yung similar terms? Sodium and chloride. No? So, we are left with barium 2 plus, SO4 negative 2, producing basophore, barium sulfate. So, that is our molecular equation and we are done. So, that's how you predict the products na. So, sasend ko sa inyo yung screenshot after the class na. Okay? So, ganun lang. Sasagutan ko yung number 2 ha. So, sana sinasabayan nyo rin ako habang nagsasolve na. So, sagutan ko na yung number 2. So, yung screenshot send ko mamaya after the class. Copper 2 nitrate. Ito question. So we have copper 2 nitrate, CuNO2, NO32, and ammonium sulfate, NH4, 2SO4. May products kaya? Hindi ko alam. Hindi ko sure. So anong gagawin ko? Alamin ko na. So for us to check whether may precipitate na mabubuo or not, anong gagawin natin? Gawin mo silang ions muna. No? Gawin mong ions. Okay? So yung CuNO2, NO32, mapapansin natin, may 2 na subscript kay NO3. So this 2, galing yon kay copper. That means the charge of the copper is 2 plus, no? Yung NO3, negative 1 yan. So, kailangan kabisado nyo na yung ions nyo, no? So, yan. Itong 2 ng NH4, saan galing yan? Kay SO4, no? Yung ammonium, positive 1 in charge yan. Sulfate, negative 2 in charge. So, these are our ions. Okay, so from our ions, salapin natin kung may precipitate, no? Kabisaduhin ka muna. Copper, ammonium, nitrate, sulfate. Sige, so balik ulit tayo dito sa lamesa. copper 2 plus nitrate, ammonium, and sulfate. So, ito yung ions natin. Focus on your anions. Focus tayo sa kanila. Ayun, so andito lang sila. Sabi diyan, nitrates. All nitrates are soluble. Okay, wala na tayong gagawin. Soluble sila lahat. Whether you pair it with copper or ammonium. So, okay. Next step. Bilis, di ba? So, lahat kasi daw ay soluble. So, wala tayong precipitate na mabubuo dyan. So, let's proceed with sulfate. Sulfate. Most sulfates are soluble except calcium, strontium, barium, lead. Ito, tignan natin ano meron tayo. We have copper and ammonium. Okay. Ano yung exemptions para maging insoluble yan? Kailangan ang kapartner niya ay calcium, strontium, barium, and lead. So kung ito yung mga kapartner niya, may precipitate. Otherwise, hindi sila precipitate. So ibig sabihin lang nun that our sulfate will not form precipitate. No? Wala din tayong magagawang precipitate there. Kasi ang kailangan na partner niya para mamuo siya ay calcium, strontium, barium, and lead. Copper and ammonium to no? So it means we cannot create precipitates with nitrate, neither with sulfate, no? Ano ba yan? Ang bilis lang pala matapos nitong second question, no? So ibig sabihin yan, wala tayong precipitate na mabubuo, no? So no precipitate can be formed. Sad face, no? Okay lang. At least hindi na tayo magpapakahirap, di ba? So, if we can no longer form any precipitate, then we can say that there is no reaction. So, wala tayong product. Okay? So, ganun. So, again, whenever you cannot form any precipitate, no reaction done. So, wala tayong ilalagay na products. At least we can now predict how kung may reaction or wala, no? So, ganun lang na. So, pag may precipitate na mabubuo, may reaction. Kapag walang mabubuo na precipitate, no reaction. Okay? So, ganun lang ka-quick, no? So, yung remaining 3 items, I will leave this 3 sa inyo to practice, no? So, practicein nyo na lang sila. And I want you to post your answers in discussions sa Canvas, no? So, ayan. So, send ko yung screenshot, no? Para alam nyo ito sa sagutan nyo. Discussions sa Canvas, no? Sagutan nyo na lang. You have your solubility table with you naman. So, you can practice with it, no? So, after the class na lang, no? Continue tayo. Okay, so alam na natin how to predict the products with precipitation reaction. You just use the solubility table. You can memorize it. You can memorize it. Pwede rin namang hindi, no? That's okay, no? Ako medyo limot ko na yan kasi kailan ko ba na-encounter yan? College ako nung na-encounter ko yan. Alam ko nung high school din ata. Ewan ko, nung high school ata na-encounter ko rin yan. No? Although hindi ganyan ka-detailed. So, yan. So, ilang years na ba? 2018 ako graduate. So, medyo 2 years na, no? So, medyo nalilimutan ko ng iba dyan. Kaya, gumagamit din ako ng table na. So, it's okay lang. Ang dami kasing nakalagay, di ba? So, sabi nga sa chemistry, hindi naman lahat kinakabisado. Yung periodic table, di rin kinakabisado yan. That's a waste of time, no? So, yan. So, hindi lahat kinakabisado. More on the concept lang. Okay? So, yan lang. So, wag nyo na kabisaduhin. Marami pa kayong exams na sasagutan in the future, no? So, sayang yung space sa memory. So, you have your table with you lang, no? Save nyo lang yan sa cellphone nyo. Malay nyo, may magtanong sa inyo sa palengke. May precipitate ba dito, anak? No? At least masasagot nyo kung may nagtanong ng ganun. Okay, so yan lang. Okay, so tapos na tayo with precipitation. Next one, acid-base na. So this is the second reactions in aqueous solution. No? So the acid-base reaction. So what do we know about the acids? No? On the previous slides, alam natin na ang acids, ang kanyang cation ay ang proton or hydronium ion, H+. Ang bases naman natin, ang kanyang anion ay hydroxide. No? Okay, so yun yung kanilang ions. Acids, cation ay H+, bases, ang anion ay hydroxides. So when we mix acids and bases kasi, the reaction between H plus and OH produces water. So nagpo-produce sila ng water. And whenever that is possible, we call that the neutralization reaction. No? So that's why water is neutral. No? Because yung H plus, they combine with OHs to form H2O. So anything na left, no, yung mga anions and cations ng ating acids and hydroxide, yung natirang ions, no, they will be combined to form salts, no. So, yun. So ito yung formula. Acid plus base producing water and salt, no. Again, saan galing yung water? Water came from the H plus of the acid and OH of the base, no. So madali lang yung balancing dito, no. For example, HCl, sodium hydroxide. So the first step is to dissociate them into ions, no. So yung HCl, you split them into H plus, Cl minus. Yung NaOH, you split them as Na plus and OH minus. Then ano ginagawa na? So medyo madali lang to, no. So yan, ipag-partner mo yan dyan. Ito, ipag-partner mo doon. And then you're done, no. So tapos na yan. Pag-partnerin mo lang yung H2O, then yung natira, pag-partnerin mo. So as you can see, this is also a double displacement reaction. So hindi lang pala precipitation reaction yung double displacement, acid-base din. So they switch partners, no? So ayan. So yun lang. Then if hindi yan balance, then you have to balance it, no? So easy lang, 'di ba? Okay, so let's predict the products and determine whether there will be precipitates or not. So this time, meron man precipitate or wala, mangyayari pa rin yung reaction. No? So we are not focused on the precipitates. We are focused with H plus and OHs producing water. No? Okay, so kahit walang precipitate dito, okay lang. Ha? Okay lang kahit walang precipitate. No? Sige. So, let's answer this. No? I'll start with 1. Ba't di ko sila pinagtabi? Kasi gagawin ko silang ions, no? So, on the right side, gagawin ko silang ions. So, what are the ions that can I form with copper hydroxide? Itong 3, galing yan sa copper. So, that's copper 3. Cupric, no? Then OH, no? Hindi ko muna ilalagay yung coefficient ng OH. Sa balancing na lang, okay? So, copper, itong 3 na subscript, galing yon kay copper. Yung 1 dito galing kay OH, no? So these are my ions. Copper 3 hydroxide, no? Then you have your phosphoric acid, H3PO4. So ano yung ions natin dito? H+. Then yung 3 na subscript dito, saan galing yan? Kay phosphate, no? Okay, so these are my ions. Then ano gagawin? Switch partners, no? Switch partners lang. Okay? So, ganun lang ka-easy. So, switch partners, you will produce, teka lang, copper, ay, ba't ang kapal naman na ito? Ito lang. Copper, ay, ganun. Maski Apple Pencil nagtatae din, no? Okay, so anyway, so yan, no? So, pagsamahin natin yung H plus and OH, we will have H2O plus copper 3 phosphate. Ano formula niyan? Criss-cross lang. 3 ang exponent, 3 din to. So, mapupunta yung 3 dito. Ito mapupunta doon, no? So, if they have the same charges, cancel mo na lang, no? So, the formula will be CuPO4. Para sa mga hindi naka-visualize, ganito lang na. Ayan, no? So, criss-cross natin yan. Yung 3, mapupunta dito. Yung 3, mapupunta doon. And since parehas yan ang subscript, cancel. You will have CuPO4. Ayan, we're done. Tapos na. Balance na lang natin. Balancing. Ano tip ko sa balancing? Tingin kayo sa water, no? Ay, sa H plus and OH, no? So, tingnan nyo, yung subscripts nila. Ito 3, ayon ay 3. So, ibig sabihin nun, the coefficient of H2O must be 3. Okay, so ganun lang na. So, tignan nyo lang. Pag parehas sila ng subscript, then 3 yun. No? Pero kung magkaiba yan ng subscript, mamaya papakita ko. Mamaya ko pakita kapag magkaiba yung subscripts. Okay, so yun yung shortcut pag nagbabalance. No? Tatlo ito. So, dapat ang coefficient ng water ay 3 din. No? Okay, then the rest, okay na yan. As is na yan. Okay, so that's the products of the acid-base reaction. Ang tanong dito, will there be precipitate, no? So ito lang naman yung, syempre yung water, hindi yan magiging precipitate, ha? Hindi yan magiging yellow, ha? So ito lang yung pwedeng mamuo, no? Tignan natin kung ang copper phosphate ba ay precipitate, no? So tignan natin dito sa previous table. Copper phosphate. Ito phosphate. Phosphates are insoluble except ammonium and group 1. Okay, so precipitate yon. Bakit? Kasi ang copper, hindi siya ammonium ion, hindi rin siya group 1 metal. So, ibig sabihin, the phosphate there is also a precipitate, no? So, we can indicate it, no? Na precipitate yon. Lagyan mo ng S, no? Precipitate siya. Okay. So, again, meron man precipitate or wala, okay lang. No? Okay lang kahit wala. No? Ang mahalaga may nabuo kang water. No? Okay, so ayan. No? Screenshot ko yan. So, upload ko na lang dito. No? Para may copy kayo. Okay, so I will proceed with the next item. Medyo agahan ko dismissal ngayon kasi alam ko gutom kayo. No? So, kumain din tayo. No? Mahirap ang nalilipasan ng kain. Ay. Aldus ka lang. No? Biglang nangingiti. Okay, so ito. Gawin natin silang ions. Zoom in natin. Zoom. Anong ions magagawa ko dito? Al3 plus and OH minus. This is H plus and NO3 minus. So, ano gagawin? Switch partners. Ito lang. So, switch partners lang. So, ito yung magiging new partner ko. Ayan. And ayun. Okay. So, H2O and Al NO3. 3. Okay. So, ganun lang. No? So, dapat nasa isip na yung crisscross. No? So, paano yan? So, sir, magkaiba sila ng subscript. No? So, ito tatlo. Ito isa. So, meaning nun, kailangan itong HNO3 gawin mong 3. No? And at the same time, yung water, gagawin mo ring 3. Kailangan pares sila ng dami. No? So, ito, isa lang yung OH, tatlo yung OH, ito isang H. No? So, para maging tatlo yung H na to, I have to multiply HNO3 by 3. Then, as a result, since I have 3 OH, 3 H now, so lalagyan ko rin ng 3 ang H2O. So, ganun lang mag-balance ng acid-base. So, if hindi kayo comfortable with that, you can do the traditional naman. Pero, yun yung shortcut ko, ha. Tingnan mo lang yung OH and yung H+. So, tatlo ito isa. So, I have to make this 3. Kaya 3HNO3, di ba? Then, since I have 3 OH and 3 H+, pag pinagsama ko yon, that means tatlong H2O din yung magagawa ko. Okay? So, yun lang yung technique, no? Just check the subscripts, no? And make them equal. Sir, paano kunwari ito 3, ito 2? So, kailangan parehas mo sila gawing 6, no? So, i-multiply mo to by 2, ito i-multiply mo by 3. Then, yung water, magiging 6 yung coefficient, no? So anyway, kayo na bahala mag-develop ng technique nyo, no, when balancing. Kasi kanya-kanyang style naman yan, no. Ako, I recommend my techniques, no. But yung iba, may sarili silang technique or mas comfortable sila sa technique na previously na natutunan. Then that's okay with me. So I won't impose my technique naman, no. You can use them naman. So anyway, so items 3, 4, 5, this will be left for you as your practice activity, no? So discussions din yan sa Canvas. Okay, so yan. Screenshot ko na lang, send ko sa GC natin yung answers. Okay? So anyway, we are left with 30 minutes and I will just share you, no, na mahaba pa yung discussions, no. So, kasi pagdating natin sa redox reactions, we have 64, nasa 64th slide tayo. Ang ending niya ay 86. So, we have around 20 plus slides pa, no. Medyo mahaba yung discussions dito. So, I will continue this instead next week, no. Pero I want you to review, no? Reviewin nyo na lang. Basahin nyo na lang. Itong mga redox oxidation numbers, important yan, no? So, yung mga rules, keep them in mind, no? Kasi kailangan yan sa next meeting. So, yun lang. We're done, no? So, kumain na muna tayo and I will upload the answers on this group chat that we have, no? So, upload ko na lang yung sagot dito. And then, yung mga nakabilog, yun yung ipopost nyo sa Canvas. No? So, again, saan yun? Punta lang kayong discussions. Punta kayo ng course card natin. Course card. Ito. Then, discussions. Ito, chapter 4. At hanapin nyo yung section nyo. Siyempre, section 4. So, ganun yung ginawa ng iba, no? Kunwari ito si Samar. No reaction. May precipitate daw. So, ganun lang, no? So, yun. So, with that, no, we are done for today, no? So, I hope na may na-absorb naman kayo kahit papano, no? And yun nga, ang kulay itim sa inyong kusina, that is carbon soot, that is a product of insoluble, incomplete reactions, no? So, share ko lang, no? Yung acid-base reaction, pwede nyo yung gawin sa bahay, no? Kuha kayo ng suka and baking soda. Okay. So, bubula yun, no? Just like yung example ko sa video, no? Pwede nyo gawin yun sa bahay, no? Okay. So, anyway, we're done with the discussion. So, thank you for your participation and kumain na muna kayo ng lunch for your next subject, no? Okay. So, with that, thank you po and I'll see you on next week, Thursday. So, yan. So, if matapos natin agad yung chapter 4 sa Thursday next week, we will continue with chapter 5 agad-agad, no? So, para mabilis tayo. Okay, so thank you po for your attendance and hanggang kailan po yung activity. Until next week naman. So, you can answer it ngayon. Pwedeng sa free time nyo. Pwede nyo sagutan ngayon. Pwede sa susunod, no? Open naman siya, no? So, wala naman ako nilagay na deadline. Wala ako nilagay na deadline dito. So, yun. So, open siya until next week na. So, yun. You can comment your answers there, no? Pero for now, wag muna kayo magsagot, no? Kain muna kayo para may energy kayo for the rest of the day. Okay? So, yun lang. So, thank you for your participation and I'll see you next week, no? And all the best. Ingat and good luck. Bye-bye. Yan. Ay, stop ko muna yung recording. Sa YouTube ko i-upload yung recording again, ha? So, yan. So, thank you and eat well. No?